I think the big shift that we're seeing on the video technology side is kind of that long tail of video adoption is now really becoming the main state of affairs. So we saw a lot of early adopters doing big things with video, and it was kind of out of reach for many companies. And those companies are now coming into their own, and the cost of doing video and publishing video on the web is becoming much cheaper. And so we're seeing this kind of explosion and flourishing of B2B, in particular video, across the board. So that's the thing that we're most excited about.
How about you, Andreas?
I agree, and what we see a lot is that companies are using a lot of different varieties of videos now. It's not just marketing actually the product, it's all about telling the brand story, having your company culture, what do you do for charity, it's basically everything that you do that you can actually show that will make your company more interesting, and then will obviously also you get more sales because more people are going to be interested in your company.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So a lot of companies want to do more video, but it's a big budget item. And so they're looking for ways to make sure that it's got an impact. How many out there already have videos in your marketing strategy right now? Wow, everybody. How many has more than one video? More than 5? More than 10? Wow, there's a lot of investment in video here. More than 20? Seriously? Wow, cool, okay.
We got to talk after this.
Yeah, right. All right, so where are you seeing the most impact when you're using video? What's the biggest impact that you can get from it? What's the most important spend that you should be thinking about?
I think there's two things. I think the first is you don't have to think about making like one huge video investment per year. I think there's a customer life cycle, or a customer journey, I should say, across your digital properties, and we find it's better to have video across that entire journey to make it a video-centric experience. So the key piece of that is making sure that you're able to provide a high-quality video experience in that whole journey, and then benchmark the ROI of that by with video analytics. So that's the major. That's the best way to get your ROI on your video investment, in my opinion.
Okay, Andreas?
I've seen a big trend also in in-house productions. I have a production company, so in the beginning I was fighting it. I was trying to sell my videos, and then I realized bigger companies will eventually move of doing an in-house production. So set them up, give them the tools, and there they go. They will do. You still make your money by telling them what to do, and it works, and that's how you actually can save a lot of money. We're gonna get to that a little bit later.
Yeah,
but
we'll talk more about that.
Yeah, but I would say in-house production is a big trend at the moment.
Okay, so we were going to show quite a few examples of videos today. So let's start with Paul. Can you show us a video this is aspirational?
Yeah.
But we'll have you show the video first and then talk a little bit about what was going on there. So can you go ahead and cue the first video?
पैसा आएको बेलामा पहिलोचोटि हल्लाएको अनुभव भयो त्यहाँबाट माथिको झऱ्यो घर छोडेर बाहिर बस्नु परेछ अब
Chautara town is the capital of Sindel-Pulchuk municipality. 66,000 families. They have a very difficult situation coming. The monsoon rains are heavy and the winds are strong. Plastic sheeting and tents are not going to make it at 4,000 meters.
कहिलेसम्म बस्ने के गर्ने अब बर्खा लाग्यो पानी पर्छ सानसाना बच्चा छन्
We have to give people their dignity. We have to give people shelter. Corrugated iron sheeting is a construction material that's favored by many rural Nepalis in order to build their roofing. But how much raw material must be available in the country to produce that much iron sheeting? How much could be taken without causing problems within the prevailing market forces? because we have to not help 1,000 families or 500 families, but 10,000 or 50,000 who are in camps all throughout earthquake-affected Nepal. Where does all that CGI come from? That's a complicated sweet spot, and I couldn't do that myself. I'm glad to say that there's a guy in SAS named Isa, and I was able to communicate my problem without a solution.
He said that he had 45,000 families at the time. They needed to find sheet metal roofing fast. But he didn't know where to get those answers.
We did some work with the United Nations, looking at trade data. So trade data from any country that's initiating trade.
I literally put him on hold, went and searched 300 million rows of data in visual analytics.
Production capacity, labor migration patterns, vocational and technical capacities. What SAS can do is analyze a broad spectrum of data to understand my population better.
Within a couple of minutes, I said, you know what? India, right next door, is the world's largest producer. And oh, by the way, Nepal ranks 7th in the world before the earthquake. You may even still have some capacity in country.
I placed an order for 310,000 sheets of 26-gauge corrugated iron sheeting that, as we speak, are starting to go on the roofs of people's houses.
That's stuff that matters, being able to find trends that are going to positively impact people.
And I'm not even sure what kind of algorithm was used to give me the data that I needed to make decisions. But what I do know is that in the end, it's allowing them to rebuild. And that feels pretty good.
Very cool. So talk about this video and what the purpose was and what the outcomes were.
Sure. So I don't know if you saw right at the end, they had that little hashtag at the top right-hand corner, hashtag Data for Good. And this was a campaign by SAS to try to put a human touch and emotional touch to their brand and to make analytics seem like something more than just rows in a spreadsheet and visualization. Andreas was speaking earlier about how there's a focus now in video to show everything that you do. The charitable foundations you work for, the social impact you have. And for SAS, this was really important to put the story together about how their products impact the world. And so this was a broad brand video campaign. And so it wasn't necessarily tied towards an email campaign or things like that. But what they did was they used this as a centerpiece of a broad brand campaign, used it to get social engagement. And so what they saw was a broad increase across their digital properties of traffic because of the broad reach of this and the connection that it made with their potential buyers.
Mm-hmm. So the outcomes that met their goals, or did it exceed their goals? Or
it actually exceeded their goals, which was part of the reason why we were able to get them as an official customer example, which everybody in B2B knows that's not always the easiest thing to do. So it exceeded their goals, and it was really actually what our champion at SAS used as a springboard to increase their investment and be more video first across all of their market. And the thing that's great about this is, SAS is a B2B company. They're selling analytic solutions to others. And by the look of that, you'd think that was something that Coca-Cola or Pepsi or some brand would be donating consumer goods or something like that. But it was for an analytics product.
well, and it wasn't just about the charitable objectives. It was really about delivering value with their product and explaining the product itself. So great, thanks for that example.
Yep.
So what terrifies me is I look at something like that, and I work with a lot of small companies as a marketing consultant, and they do not have that budget. So I'd like to have Andreas show a video that accomplishes similar goals but is at a lower cost. So you want to show that and then talk about it?
Yes.
Okay, so can you read it down?
Hi, I'm Kari Kostropoulos. Today I'm going to be demonstrating the world's most intelligent electric screwdriver from G-Tool. We have reinvented the electric screwdriver, which thinks for itself by mixing technology with functionality. The pen drive has over 19 features and 2 core settings, Smart Manual and Smart Automatic. To activate each mode or change each torque limit, simply insert a pin into this hole and press the button. Smart Manual mode. In smart manual mode, the drive direction is based on the amount of force applied to the screw. A higher force range will loosen the screw, and a lower force range will fasten the screw. With 4 torque settings, you can be rest assured that it will not strip your screw and assured that it will fasten to the appropriate tension. G-Tool, creating professionals.
Nice animations.
Thanks.
So talk about that one.
So basically, it's a startup company that produces tools to fix iPhones, smartphones in general. And when they started out, they have all these tools, but they don't have any marketing budget. So they came to us and they said they have no marketing budget for videos. So I said, okay, what is no budget? Now you think $10,000, maybe it's small. They said, no, they have like maximum $2,000. So what can you do? So basically what we did, we gave them some tools and we did set them up how to do their own productions. So that was shot at their office. That's their office. The animation, there's a website. I don't know if you guys heard of that website called Fiverr.com. Basically where you can get an animation for $5. This animation was $50.
Wow.
So it's scary.
They did the whole animation for $50?
Yeah. It's we're using music, we're using Audio Network, for example, that you pay a yearly fee and you can use any of the music, and it's not even that expensive. It's like, I think, $3,000 for a year, and they have over 10,000 songs. So it's all about the resources you're using, and especially nowadays, you can get a whole crew online that shoots for you and edits for you. Again, Fiverr can edit this for $100. So if you want to produce a lot of videos, and it's all about having a lot of content constantly, and update it, there are a lot of ways to save money. I do agree, though, when I look at the other video, because you always have to have a flagship video, and I think that's the video that you should invest money in, and that's, as I said, the flagship one. But if you produce about 80 videos a year, then it's good to look into other options.
Right. So how much did they spend on that video?
I think just under $2,000.
Wow. Do you know what SAS spent on theirs?
No, I don't.
What would you guess?
Because they use their own employees, I'd say something probably around $50,000.
Okay.
Something like that.
So 2 to 50, a little bit of a range there.
Yeah.
Okay. So in terms of planning, we do need a budget, and it never, ever is going to seem like enough. Whether it's $2,000 or $50,000, it still doesn't seem like enough, right? So what kind of marketing strategies should marketers be thinking about as they're thinking about incorporating video? What are the things that you've seen work? And also, maybe you can talk about some fails that you've seen.
I think video strategy can be overwhelming. We find that if we talk to somebody who's relatively new to video strategy and we say, what's your video strategy? There's kind of like a gasp and like a couple like steps backwards. Well, I haven't thought about it as a strategy. And I think that what we try to tell that was kind of like a couple years ago when we've adapted our messaging now, and we say, like, this is your video strategy. Let's start off with a bite-sized campaign that's self-contained, that has a clear goal in mind, that has metrics that we can measure across the entire campaign, and that we can then look back on and make a decision about whether or not we were successful, where we could have improved, and what we can do next. So a good example of this is, let's say you want to use, if you really truly want to get the ROI, like an email-based campaign might be the best thing to start off with. You're going to use an email, you're going to have a subject line that's going to have the word video in it, you're going to have a thumbnail in the email that has a play button that will hyperlink to a landing page. That landing page will have your video, you'll have a lead form. That's a real self-contained campaign where you can test out the effectiveness of that video. How much interest am I getting in my customer base or my prospect base for video at all? How many of them are actually watching that video? How many of them are taking the next step? And if you just take, that's not really that difficult. It's really, those are the things that as B2B marketers we're used to, right? We're used to making an email campaign with a landing page and that sort of thing. That's the way that I would think about getting started with your video strategy. It has all the things in it that you would consider, from the production to the properties where it's going to live to the email promotion. Maybe you add in some social promotion as well to see where your social, what your social media channels are able to do. And you can really do a good post-mortem on that and then make a decision about what you should do next.
You know, what I heard you start with was, what are you going to do with it and how are you going to promote it? And then you started working backwards. And I think that that's an interesting approach. Begin with the end in mind. Somebody famous said that, like Stephen Covey, I think. But how about you, Andreas? Can you add to that?
Yes, I always look at the influencers that are in the industry. We had a lot of success stories with taking simple, when you take Instagram, take simple influencers and see what products they're using. Are they using those products, or are they part of this whole campaign? And then actually build it on with that influencer. So, for example, the video that you saw, she's a South African influencer. She's not a supermodel, but I mean, she is a model. And
Okay,
so
she's not an employee of the company.
No, she's not an employee of the company, but she's more an influencer. She didn't charge a lot to do this because she also wanted to get a free video, I guess. And that's how a lot of marketing strategies, if you build them, we always look at who can you bring in that's going to add to your product, and then you work from there.
Interesting. Okay.
If I could just say one quick
Yeah,
thing.
please,
You said
jump
about fails or things that don't work, and it's exactly what you talked about. If you don't have a goal in mind of what you want to do with that video, it's nearly impossible to have a successful video campaign, even from writing the videos. We have a great in-house production team at Brightcove, and they've been great mentors for me because I've written some product demo videos and things like that. They've been great reinforcers of, let's really think about what we're doing with this video, because if you try to do everything with the video, then you're going to have you're going to be off message, you're going to be complex, you're going to be confusing. They've really been excellent at having us think through, how are we going to do this? What's the purpose of this video? If we have more things we want to do, can we make 3 videos that are shorter that we can use in different ways to be successful? So that's where I see people fall down, is really not thinking about it, as you said, what's the end?
Right.
What's the end goal?
I have actually a good fail story too. I didn't think about it until you just talked about that, but try not to pack 20 pounds of potatoes in a 5-pound bag. And we had a video that we were doing for a client that was edited by committee. For the script. Oh yeah. And it was the first time they'd ever done a video shoot. And so they didn't know how to look at a storyboard and understand what was going on. We did like version after version of the script and got approval, started building the video, and this was all animated, and built the video out, submitting it section after section. Everybody's yeah. And then we get to the end and they're like, no. This doesn't reflect our brand. And we're like, well, what's your brand? And I threw it in front of one of their customers to get his feedback. And he said, it was one of those where, you do the problem in the first half and the solution in the second half, right? And he was like, oh man, I felt like you really got me on the problem. But then on the solution side of it, you packed it with so many different benefits that I stopped believing you.
Interesting.
And I started looking at the script, and I had completely broken my own rule. We had 9 benefits in a 3-minute video because they were trying to be all things to all people.
Yep.
So how do you coach people to not do that?
Well, you have to have specific videos for specific topics, and that we always say to the client, especially if you do in-house production, you can do a lot of videos. You don't have to, because people's attention span is so short. What can you fit in? We always say, what can you fit in 15 seconds? And you take that, and you have 15 seconds to have everything, tell them everything you want them. And then they realize, if I have 15 seconds, I might only be able to have one aspect of the product that is important, and you can break it. And then you can actually break it up, because it is like 15, my attention span is not even 15 seconds. And I do videos. I grew up not reading books, and everyone said, they said to my parents, you're going to be a stupid kid because he doesn't read. I'm not saying I'm intelligent, but
you can read.
I think I was right. When I was little, I said, I just watched a movie, and look at it. Everyone is watching movies. I don't buy a product without watching a 15-second, 20-second clip of the product. I think almost everyone watches a video before you make a purchase. reviews are good. But if somebody actually says in a video the product is good, it's better than just reading it.
I would have to agree, especially, so that's like as we're going through the buying stages, you know, getting those videos, particularly at that product evaluation stage of, is this versus that? I want to see videos. I want to understand how I'm going to use it, especially for technology.
Yep.
So I am curious, a show of hands, how many of you have awareness videos? Okay. Now keep your hands up. How many also have videos for the second stage, which I would say researching a solution? How many have them for evaluation stage, so you're evaluating vendors or comparing product features? And how many for commitment stage? Interesting. Okay, so we have 2 of the buying stages kind of represented there.
I think that it's, you know, video is typically thought of as a top of the funnel first. It's first thought of as top of the funnel. How can I get more people? And, you know, especially, so Brightcove is the company I work for, is a SaaS company. SaaS's bread and butter is making sure that your customers stay with you. So we've done a big focus on customer-focused videos.
How-tos.
How-tos. Also, one of our successful campaigns was our Meet Your Account Manager campaign. So anytime a new user starts with the customer, or you know, we have some new contact, we'll send over a personalized video of, hey, I'm Tara Ryan, I'm your account manager. This is why I love working with video. This is why I love working with my customers. And so we need to keep them engaged and renewing and staying with us. And so that building that loyalty and retention is a big piece of how we market with video as well.
You know, our marketing automation provider is actually using it in the customer support, where they'll actually create a video telling us how to figure out something, and it's quick, it's 15 seconds usually, and it's so much easier.
Yep.
So, Andreas, I want to talk about a completely different mode for using video with an example that you have. So let's show that example, and then have you talk about what the purpose was for that, because it's quite a different approach, but I think it's a great strategy. So can you cue that 3rd video? Tell us about that.
So basically, Antonio Banderas is one of our clients. We're very lucky to have a very nice client like that. So he had a new fragrance coming out, Temptation. And for all the resellers to actually stock the product, he's going on tour, so where he promotes the product. But in what he says is he will do that promotional tour, but in every country he goes to, he wants to support a charity. But that charity is not supported by the profits of the fragrance. That charity is supported by, he's a photographer, so he does an auction. At each city that he goes to, he auctions off the photography that he does. And then he supports a charity in each city. So basically, that's a way of a video marketing strategy part where the company now actually shows it's not just a charity, and it's not that all the sales are going to charity, because they're still for profit. So they're marketing basically with this video that Antonio Banderas is doing this charity, he's coming, he's selling his product, but his requirement is that he needs to support a charity in each city of his choice. And then they can use that video to market also the fragrance. And there's something interesting he said, his fragrance is quite, it's a lower price, so it's not a Gucci or Versace. And when there was the economic crisis, people started buying that fragrance because they couldn't afford the other ones, and then they actually started liking it, and now his sales went up. And then also because he's a good guy and he does charity, that helped the company, and they boosted their sales by 30%. Because by buying the product, you're actually indirectly supporting the charity.
And this is a B2B sale. This was not a B2C, so it's an interesting angle on a B2C strategy, or B2B to C strategy.
Yes.
Okay, so in the couple of minutes that we have left, let's first talk about promotion. How do you amplify these videos? What channels are you seeing are the most effective for getting the message out there? You want to start, Andreas?
So basically, obviously, social media is still the most effective one. I always say back in the days, you did a video and then you had to spend a lot of money to get it onto TV. Now it's instant. You can put it onto social media. I do agree also with the email marketing, although we didn't see as much success with the emails, although even if you put videos in, it helps. But the videos are basically on social media. I worked in the millennial market, and I was quite shocked because I'm not Generation X and not a millennium, I'm this Xennial. It's between 78 and 83, and no millennials actually look on Facebook. And because I always thought you have to go and put videos on Facebook, but none of them are on Facebook. So you have to also look at what's your market, and especially also B2B, there's a lot of high rank positions now that are filled by millennials. And they will not look on Facebook.
Where are they looking?
They are all on Instagram. They are predominantly on Instagram. They're not on Facebook.
Not LinkedIn or Twitter either, mostly Instagram?
Yeah, well, they are on those as well, but definitely none of them are on Facebook. So you won't find them on Facebook. I'm not saying then don't go or don't use Facebook, because I mean, you have to, it's part of your marketing strategy, but actually just look at what is your client, actually the age group, and then you can actually see where you should market it. I've heard also, I mean, Twitter works very well in the business world, but Twitter is also not the best platform for just video if you want to spread it.
Okay. What have you seen?
I think the big change over the last couple of years has been the rise of social, or social video. Every one of the platforms, one after another, is adding social functionality, and really becoming video first. I mean, I was really surprised with some of the recent changes with the Facebook newsfeed updates and kind of walking back on video, which is really something I'm still trying to process and truly understand the real reasons for that. But the rise of social promotion for your videos has definitely been the game changer.
I think it's interesting when you talk about the millennials. I'm hearing this over and over again, and you guys are probably seeing it too, that in the buying process, you usually have an influencer who starts the process of looking seriously at a company is not that senior executive, the baby boomer or the Gen X, it's a millennial analyst. And so we have to be catering to this new style of making sure it's mobile enabled, making sure it's on the platforms where they visit, and that the message is something that they can connect with, right?
And I'd say too, if you're targeting that kind of an audience, the authenticity of the video is highly valued, and that can be a way that you can get around having to do something with high production value. If you do something that looks a little rougher, it doesn't look as polished, it looks more real, it looks like someone just hopped in front of an iPhone and spoke their heart about something, like that actually will truly resonate with that millennial audience.
Interesting.
And especially on social.
Interesting, because they're more and more aware of the airbrushed models.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, interesting. All right, well, gentlemen, I think we're out of time, but thank you so much. This has been great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.